People think that they must have an opinion about everything. They believe that when someone makes a statement about politics or religion or about some human personality, they think that they are required to have an opinion, an assumption, a belief, a fast mental reaction to what was said. This indicates a wrongly operating mind. It means that we're using our intellect in a vain attempt to try to get a sense of identity. It means that we believe that when we give an opinion, no matter how nonsensical it may be, when we give an opinion, that automatically becomes a self, something solid, something that you can rely on. You've got this opinion, and oh, how worried you are that it's going to escape you, elude you, that you're not going to be able to call on it in time of trouble, because your opinion about being an intelligent human being or being a so-called spiritual human being, that opinion is constantly under siege and attacked by millions of other human beings who have the exact opposite opinion about you. You belong to this kind of religion, you belong to this kind of politics, and there are millions who oppose your position and say, our position is right, yours is wrong. And every time they say it's wrong, you start to shake. Well, why not, since it's on false ground itself? There's no way you can make yourself believe that an opinion is a fact. So I instruct you and encourage you right now to understand what I have said so far, so that you will no longer try to find yourself, to find solid ground by simply believing in what you say, as if you can do it anyway. You can't make yourself believe what you say. That is, you can't convince yourself that it is right, that it is solid. And worst of all, there's no way any human being can ever convince himself that his opinions are permanent facts. And I explain why. They belong to the shallow intellect. They're always opposed by someone else, which throws you into doubt. There's no doubt about a fact if you look at it solidly. No doubt at all about that. And we'll get into that a little bit more later. But just for now, picture a big stadium. People at a football game, 100,000 people. Every one of those people in the stadium have their little blown-up balloon. Red, blue, green, purple balloons of all colors. Everyone holds it up, shows it to everyone else, and says, this is my balloon. Isn't it pretty? This is my balloon. Prettiest balloon. You've got the one balloon, you say it's the prettiest balloon of all the 100,000. Of course, you don't say that outwardly to other people because that would appear immodest, but you say it to yourself, I have the nicest balloon. Then everybody is instructed, as you have sometimes seen on television or in person, everybody's instructed to loosen their balloon, and they let it go, and the balloon goes up. I'm giving you an illustration, follow it, a spiritual illustration. This one man loosens his balloon, and it goes up just a little bit, a little slowly, and he says, that's my balloon. Isn't it pretty? Goes up a little higher, and he says, that's my balloon. That's my green balloon. Isn't it pretty? Pretty soon, 100,000 balloons are starting to come together and to get all mixed up with each other, right? And here's this one man. He's looking up, trying to keep his eye solidly on what he said was his balloon. He even wrote his name on it. He wrote his name on the balloon, and he says, that's mine, that's mine. Pretty Pretty soon the expression changes from pride and vanity to worry and indecision. And he says, I guess that's my balloon. He doesn't know, because now they're all mixed up together, and pretty soon they all go out of sight, and eventually, of course, they all collapse, and the remnants of them fall to the ground, and there's no more opinion. This illustration tells you what happens in this world. And notice the competitive spirit of the man, based on the fallacy that an opinion is a fact and that it forms an identity. Have you noticed how your opinions gradually go away from you, and now you have the exact opposite color that you had before, the exact opposite opinion that you had before, and you never noticed that you changed? You never noticed how inconsistent you were? You never noticed that you say the exact opposite thing on Monday that you might have said on Sunday or Wednesday? Opinions change because they have no permanence. Now let's talk about facts. A fact is a beautiful thing. It is solid. Because when you see a fact, even if it's a negative one about you, even if you see something, a fact, you're an impatient type. You are nervous. You're uncertain. Even if you see that fact can be worked with to change. But if you have an opinion that you're a knowledgeable person, you're a pleasant person, you're an open-minded man or woman, whatever you are, you're open-minded, you welcome higher knowledge, all that is a falsehood, all that is your opinion, and you are stuck with that. Fact is another thing. And the best facts for any human being who is lost inside himself, the best fact is one that gives you a shock that is actually where you are. For example, that you don't have any real facts about yourself because you've evaded them, therefore you must substitute hundreds of opinions, balloons that are going up, and you no longer know which one is you. Is that me or is that the next person? Come on, a little work on your part. Think of occasions where you had your pet belief and someone opposed it and you fiercely fought them. You became hot emotionally. Your mind raced around defending your position, both defending and attacking, maybe accusing the other person of something. Now, you never again in your life have to defend yourself against anything. All you have to do is drop the notion that you need to defend yourself, because you're defending something that doesn't require defense, has no need for defense, therefore you don't have to waste your time anymore on them. An absence of false identity means you have made room for, you have given an opportunity for your real identity, which is not mental. The facts are always on your side. Your beliefs are always against your real nature. The opinions are for your false nature and against your real nature. You want what is really authentically on your side. Therefore, take a new attitude, starting right now, toward rebuke. Take a new attitude toward correction. Take a new attitude toward anyone or anything who comes along and points out a fault. Any kind of fault, small or large. Yes, for a long time, your You're suddenly going to freeze with what? Fear, irritation, maybe anger, yes. You're going to freeze with that because someone has told you the facts about yourself which go against your beloved opinions, and you love your opinions, you don't love the facts, and so you're going to fight them. From now on, you're going to be a non-fighter. You are going to learn by an experience 20 times a day, 50 times a day, what it means to take it. Just suffer from seeing your own hypocrisy and self-division, and then if you suffer knowingly, that is, you admit that it's a fact, you will be carried beyond that fact of your self-division. Something which is spiritual power will pick you up and carry you over that rock in the road. And every time you do it, the Spirit of God himself will pick you up and carry you over the next rock. You know how many rocks are in the way, don't you? The rocks are all inside us, and they represent the obstacles of stubbornness. The stubbornness and the futility, they represent the stubbornness and the futility of saying that you know what is good for you. You have never known what's good for you. You just said that you know what's good for you. And all your friends who only know what's bad for them agreed with you in your opinion of what's good for you. And so you have a collection, a band, a gang of wrong human beings, each one of them falsely supporting the other, and each one of them creating more rocks. And all of them sitting in the big football stadium, at first so smug and so confident and so proud. This is my individual balloon. It has my name on it, my address, a phone number. Oh, this is me. At last I know who I am. All the balloon holders say, isn't this great? I'm me, you're you, but I'm me. Look, I can hold it, I can see it. My balloon is green, yours is red, another blue. And then you let it go because it's the nature of thoughts to change, isn't it? The balloon goes, you search around all the time. This is unconscious, unseen by you. You're searching around, hoping you can pick something up from someone else that maybe you can add to your already big pile of junk collection, all called identities, which are nothings. You hope you can pick something up from someone else. What was it this week? Did you hear someone tell a funny joke that you determine when you get away from there and get your own crowd, you're going to tell it as your original joke? Aha. The clever remark, the way of walking anything. All right, here's your special exercise. Notice how you try to get identity through imitation. The other person's doing the same thing to you. What does he get from you? Maybe he sees something. By the way, he's impressed by you because you picked up the joke 10 meetings ago, 10 places ago, and now he's imitating you, but you are 10th hand, 15th hand, and he goes on and carries it on, and the imitation continues and bounces back and forth among everyone. Facts are friends, no matter how hostile the opinions see them at the time. Well, of course, now you know who the enemy is. The enemy is the opinion that doesn't want the fact. But I'll tell you something. I've described opinions and their nature to you, and I'll go over it briefly. Opinions are very shaky and unsure of themselves. You're not sure of yourself at all. Facts are pure confidence. See, when you loosen yourself of opinions, you loosen yourself, of your neurotic self. You let go of your artificial personality. And when you do that, that is replaced by the facts. Now, facts are never really personal. You have to do some very sharp thinking on what I'm going to tell you next. Facts are never personal. You can't ever say, for example, that I am spiritual, or I am good, or I am wise. Only the opinion, false nature, says that, brings the I, the self into it. And it's only an opinion, not a fact. Opinion always connects with a false identity. When the false identity disappears through you wanting it to disappear, then there is only the fact, but the fact can never be boastful. It is what it is. It's powerful and it's innocent. But a spiritual human being who, as a fact, has spirituality never boasts about it. There is no I am spiritual because there's no I to say it. Have you ever noticed people who brag about themselves, not just with spirituality, about anything else? I am a great achiever. I am someone who really cares for my family. My family comes first. I care for them deeply. And you notice when he's saying that, try to notice when he's saying that from now on, whatever the boast might be. Notice that his whole the other parts of his personality, other than his words, for example, his facial expression, his gestures, notice that they contradict what he said. And that's the giveaway. And you should be able to see many times during the day how when a person brags about anything, about how good, how generous he is, how pleasant and how poised and calm he is all the time. You should know that it has to be nothing but an empty opinion, and you can back that up with a little sharp observation on your part, as I just explained, by seeing that the rest of him doesn't believe in it. Try that from now on. Oh, you know what I'm going for now, don't you? Try it for yourself. You ever listen to yourself talk? Kind of boring, right? All right. Notice when you talk that chatter, pardon the expression, that chatter appears at first to be all of you. When you say something, you falsely believe that this is you, the whole you, telling the world what a marvelous human, magnificent human you are. Please do more than repeat in your mind what I just said, that facts are your friends, and know it. Work with it until you know it. Because when you know that facts are your friends, you'll know that opinions and beliefs are your enemies. If you had a pet deer out in the backyard, you lived in the woods, if you had a pet deer, that's a fact, right? You have a pet deer. You wouldn't let that deer wander out in the woods where the wolves are. Because you let the deer walk out in the woods where the wolves are going to attack it. And there are billions of wolves in this world who would spend their whole life, it's their career to attack the innocent wolves of fact. Because those wolves want to stay wolves. And the majority of them are not going to be anything but that. The point. Protect. Protect the fact when it comes to you, but now you have to know the difference between a fact and opinion because you don't even know that. How are you going to know when something is a fact? I'll tell you how. When it disturbs you. But you have to admit that it's disturbing you. You can't deceive yourself by saying, that doesn't bother me. That man telling me that I'm a bluffer, that I'm a faker, that doesn't bother me. Of course it bothers you, or you wouldn't have said it doesn't bother me. When you're upset about anything, that's an indication that you're living from the opinions, which are 10th hand, as I explained, that you've picked up and you're living from them. When you're living from the facts, and there are a lot of spiritual proverbs and truths that have repeated this nicely in the right way. When you're living from facts, nothing shall disturb you. You should be above the lies and the viciousness of this world. See, this is an interesting way to put it, and it will help you. God is the only fact. God is the only pure, innocent, all-powerful fact. There is no fact outside of God himself. There is only delusion, there is only belief, all of which set off every problem, every grief, every anger, every difficulty that any human being has ever had, including you. Look at the conclusion we reach on that. If you are troubled, which you are, it is because you don't want the fact about God to be a fact about God, but you prefer to deceive yourself into thinking that your opinions are the facts. So now here's where your self-honesty, which is a great requirement, comes in. And I want you to do it together right now as a group exercise, which is, of course, an individual group exercise. I want you to answer in your mind as I ask you the following questions. Are you a confused human being? Answer yes or no. Are you a confused human being? Do you have hidden hostility in you? Yes or no? Am I worried about my future? What's going to happen to me? Yes or no? Am I impulsive? Yes or no? And I'll end with this one, and then we'll go on. Am I a secretly terrified human being? Yes or no? Now, if you were honest, you know very well you should have answered yes, that you're scared, yes, that you're hostile. That's not enough. That's a start, but it's not enough. When the fact comes along, the innocent deer, it arouses the rage of what is the opposite of it. Because you see, the wolves of opinion can only feel right, which is actually feeling wrong, but they call it right, can only feel right when they deliberately arouse false, vicious, fiery, destructive emotions. When you see a attacking savage wolf, you see it with emotions, don't you? That's why I'm emphasizing that. Now it's up to you, as serious students of the higher way, to know that the innocent deer of fact, of God truth. That deer, when it puts in its appearance in a small way, even a very young deer puts in its appearance, the wolves standing at the edge of the forest, they can't leave the forest, by the way. They can only lure you into the forest, lure the deer into the forest. They're standing watching for a way to lure you into them so they can mangle the facts. You have one, let me ask you, you can answer this too. Do you have a sensing of the rightness, of the purity, of the godliness, of the spirituality of what you're hearing? Do you have that? That is what's right. That is the fact coming from God himself. That is the healing, and that's what you protect, the young innocent deer. I don't want you to wander away from the ranch, from the clearing, where all is well with you. All is well with you when you hear and you ask God to help you hear more of what he has to say about you. God knows everything about you. Ask him to tell you about you, which he will do. And one day, those dozens of wolves slinking around at the edge of the woods, looking across the clearing at you. One day they will yell out a yelp, knowing that they have been defeated. And you will know they have been defeated. And the defeat of evil will be a living fact for you, and it will be a living fact that you are now safe, for you have God's safety. You don't have to make it. There's nothing to make. If you try to make it, you won't make it. If you don't try to make it, you will make it. That's my lecture for the evening. How many? You think there's a you who has to achieve something. You think that there is a goal, an aim in front of you that's going to take some time and action and energy and space. You think that this goal you've set up for yourself, which is going to take time and space, you think that that is what you need to do. You don't need to do it at all. You just think you need to do it because you think that you are someone who needs it. Stop thinking that there's rescue and salvation and relief in thought. There's none. You haven't found it in thought. You haven't found it in your plans and your schemes. And right in front of you is all the evidence you really need that you can drop them. There is no need to try to make it because there is nothing at all for you to try to make. You don't have to succeed at anything in this life, except to see that you don't have to succeed at anything at all in this life. Aren't you overwhelmed at the magnificence of all this? If your present nature could be free, you'd be free. You're looking in the wrong place for the pearls. You're not going to find them out in the desert. And yet you continue to search in the wrong place to find relief from you. There's no relief. Listen to me. There is absolutely no relief from you. You're total non-relief. You're the struggle, you're the pain, you're the agony. You're the insistence that you know what's right when you don't. There's no relief from you. How are you going to find relief from you? You are non-relief. What you can do is know that you don't have to make it, that there's nothing to make. You give up trying to make it, then there's no maker of effort. You don't have to do what you did all day today. No more. You can stop. I give you permission to stop right now. You don't have to repeat today anymore. Tomorrow can be fresh. You can be fresh starting right now. Can you see through the time self, the space self? You see, you say, it'll take me 5 hours in time and 5 miles to go get that book that's going to enlighten me. And when you get there, who have you brought to the book? You. An unenlightened self reading an enlightened book, maybe, but an unenlightened self reading an enlightened book, you're still unenlightened, because you can't understand it. The time self, the space self, is so sure it can do something. I tell you, a major difficulty you have is that you will simply not run out of trying to save yourself. You won't just give up. Come on now. You know that what I just said is a basic spiritual law. You have to give up you. You have to forget self. There must be 500 ways that thought could be presented to you. And when I said it, I know that you went into certain right memory on it, and perhaps you even recalled some of the sentences you had. There must be less of me and more of God. And then you go a little further than that. There must be nothing of me and all of God. All right. Now, picture in your mind the earth out there that we walk around on all day long. And there's millions of human beings walking along the surface of the ground. And above them there's an invisible barrier. Can't see it, but it's there. And what's happening above the barrier is that God, in His goodness, is sending down messages to human beings, troubled human beings, with sad faces and ruined lives. God is sending down messages to them on how to be good, how to be truthful, how to be spiritual, which, if they were to take inside their lives, they wouldn't be sad-faced anymore. And they wouldn't be worried about their future anymore. But I said there was an invisible barrier, which is inside human beings, but I'm illustrating it, and I'm saying that there's this barrier, this blockage, whereby the truth comes down, but it gets blocked by human beings and can't reach them. Now, let me tell you a little more about these people on earth. They came into the world as young people, children, grew up, and they were told by their parents, teachers, and read in books, they were told that they should be good. Now, you were told you should be good, right? You were told you should be kindly. You know, the virtues were explained to you and urged upon you from different places. You should be kindly to people. You shouldn't speak sharply to them. You should be calm and poised, peaceful inside yourself. Well, just generally speaking, you should be a good boy or girl, right? You tried it and it didn't work. Can you think of at least 5,000 times you tried to be good and it didn't work? Huh? You even made up your mind that you weren't going to be so sharp-tongued toward that person next time you met, and there you go again. Or you weren't going to be so demanding. Or you weren't going to impose on them quite so much. Maybe you caught a glimpse of the fact that you do impose on people, always asking them questions or bothering them. You know, a lot of these petty little things that can be an awful big thing to the other person when you're the offender. And so you tried to conform to what your parents perhaps or other people told you you should be, but nothing happened. So you kept trying and kept trying and kept trying, and you know in your heart that you never ever achieved what it means to be a good, nice, innocent human being. Never achieved it. And so you thought, as do millions, that it's really an impossible goal. Now, I've given you the psychohistory of mankind. We're part of mankind. But we are not a part of their choice. And if we have made that choice, the choice to say, this is the best I can do, and then cover it up after that. If we have made that choice, we withdraw it right now, and I want you to do so. You can do it. You don't know the graciousness and the strength of God. Even if you don't know what you're talking about, God does. And all of you can say right now, and I want you to do it. I want you to say in ordinary, simple language, God, truth, where I have deceived myself with a wrong choice, I want the choice to be undone. I want every single one of my false choices to be dissolved, and I want them to begin to be dissolved right now. They will be if you have made that request. God always answers your prayers when they come from a right heart. Now, this process will be reversed. And the reversal is the reversal of the original way, right? Of course. You're going downhill and you go past 10 trees and notice them. When you reverse your course and go uphill, you go past the same 10 trees but in a different direction. The same inwardly. And what spiritually happens is that you, after making the prayer and when it is answered for you, then you begin to be conscious of that falsehood that you repressed, that you didn't want to see anymore. You become conscious of the contradiction. It becomes clear to you what you have done in the past. Your now spirit is enlightening your time thinking so that you can see that you made a mistaken choice at one time. You decided against yourself at one time, thinking you were deciding in favor of yourself. And you see that you did just that you made the wrong choice. And now you can see you're getting back to your original mistake all the time. You now know what it means to be hypocritical, to deceive yourself. This is becoming conscious to you, which means you're getting healthy, which means you're undoing the damage. That the Spirit of Truth is undoing the damage with your permission. And now you're continuing to go uphill, and an astonishing new development occurs. What occurs is that you find yourself questioning all over again what you once questioned as a young person, maybe in your teens, maybe younger, maybe in your 20s, 30s even, you find yourself right back where you started before you took the wrong turn and went downhill, but now you took the right turn by asking God to help you, and he did. Now you're coming uphill, and you find yourself right back where you started. It's like coming out of a dark, cluttered alley at night, and you come out and there's the bright lights of the street out there, and you know you're safe out there. You're in danger in the alley. Now you're out in the street where it's safe. But specifically, you find yourself doing a very spiritual, healthy, rewarding thing, which is questioning this whole matter of how to be good. See, years ago when you first questioned it, you gave your answer. You said it's impossible. You said, so since it's impossible, I guess all I have to do is deceive others into thinking that I'm good, and maybe I'll get my rewards, but I know that I'm not really good. You're undoing all that, and there's a real beauty and a real power in you being back where you were before you made the original horrid mistake. And you know that. You know that you've come out of that alley. And what a relief that is. You're in danger back there with all the thugs in there. You're away from them now. Now this is spiritual thinking now. Before it was purely mental. Now it's the spiritual affecting the mental. And now you begin to ponder and wonder about it. And you ask yourself, I was told that I must be an honest, decent, kindly human being. I was told that I must be virtuous, that I must never do the smallest thing in word or deed to hurt another human being, that would be wrong for me. I was told that if I hurt another in any way, that was the same as hurting me. Now, out in the sunlight, you understand that is a fact. That's the truth. And then, the revelations tumble upon you all the time, more and more, so many you can't get them all, but you'll get them all. And the next thing that occurs to you, there has to be, it's enormous, it's too much for you to take, but there really has to be something called that exists that is authentic virtue. I was told by my parents and others to be good and innocent. I tried, didn't make it. I was bad and guilty. But they said to be good and innocent, and I liked the idea, I really did, because I knew that to hurt others is to hurt me, and I didn't want to hurt me, and I didn't want to hurt anyone else. I felt the rightness of the counsel to be virtuous. I felt it. But then somewhere I made a terrible mistake and thought that I could be good, that I could develop inside myself innocence, kindness, understanding of others. I thought I could arrive at this state of the absence of malice, the absence of hostility. Oh, I see. I made the mistake of thinking that I could develop them, that I could practice them. And I now understand what happened when I did try to practice them. I became hypocritical. I told the girl that I cared for, that I was loving and affectionate. I told the girl that, and all the time I really only wanted something for myself. There sure was no innocence in what I told that girl. But I thought there was. I thought that that was what love was. And honest human relations toward a girl was. But it couldn't have been innocence on my part because I hurt her. And she cried. I see the mistake I made. But now, I'm confronted with another problem. I strongly want to live. I want to experience. I want to possess real strength, real wisdom, real innocence. I don't want the word anymore. I tried that. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to believe that I've got it anymore. That's self-deceit, and I know it now. I want the real thing. I want real virtue simply because I know it is right. It's right for me. It's right for every girl I meet. Right for everyone I encounter. I want that. But I don't know what it is yet. I want it, but I don't have it. But I'll tell you one thing I now know. Oh, do I know it? I spent 20 years knowing it. And I finally got the lesson through my thick, unspiritual head. I finally found out what has to be done. What has to be done is to not make the slightest move, say the slightest word, take the smallest action to be good and innocent and virtuous. There must be no movement of my mind, emotions, or even my physical body like doing good things to be seen of other people. I must not do anything at all that I of myself call virtuous. That's it. I know that that's it. Absolutely. I understand that. I can't do it yet, but I know it's right. You've broken through. You've got it. You're on the way. This means false virtue, which is unvirtuous, has been restrained. It means the Spirit of truth itself has put a block up so that it can't break through. This means that the 20 years that you or anyone else spent trying to be virtuous and failing, that finally, after 20 years, thanks to the Spirit of truth, you now got the lesson, and you've got it right. I have to run out of myself. I can't think that I know what's good, what's innocent, what's helpful for others. There is no way my time mind can understand that. And I understand that. That there's nothing, this present personality, this intellect, there's nothing it can do at all to be good. For 20 years I thought I was good, and I was a hypocrite and a deceiver and hurt everybody I met, thinking, may God have mercy on me. I heard everyone thinking I was doing them good. Well, we've made some progress. We know what is bad, but we can't yet be good. Go deeper. Keep going with the way you're going now, with what you're thinking about now as I'm talking to you. Go ever deeper inside yourself until you come to that point where you come to an end of yourself. That's the magic. And here's what happens. I gave you the illustration of the invisible barrier where God is sending down messages about how to be virtuous, how to be kindly, how to be real, how to be real. When a human being, man or woman, reaches this point I've described to you, at that point of authentic submission to truth, of real humility, not fake humility, of really letting go of all he has, letting go of everything, because you've understood that everything is bad for you. At that moment, the barrier disappears. The barrier was inside the human being. Now, here's what happens further. Now, the messages of God come down without obstruction, and they're able to enter the man or the woman who has gone through these years of doing the wrong thing and knowing finally that that it was the wrong thing. The message comes down, and at this point, because the individual has been sincere, earnest, he will not make a mistake as to what happens next. Try to understand this, please. It's vital. When truth sends down innocence, insight, strength, courage, kindness, love, when truth sends it down, that truth, that power becomes the only life of the individual who has surrendered to God. Would you understand? Hasn't he given up his old life? Of course. You know very well. That's the condition that you get a new life, is to give up the old life. The space has been made now because there's no longer the subtle self-deceits. There's no longer the sly boasts about how good you are, how generous you are to other people. All that torment, and it is torment, hypocrisy hurts incredibly. All that is gone, out of the way. Now there's room for only one thing: all the virtues that God alone possesses to come down and enter the human being and live through that human being. Now he knows something. Now he knows that anything he does that is good is not his goodness. Any kindness, any help now that his very nature gives to someone else is not his nature. His nature's gone, it's through. That was in time, and time is gone, and now only God in his nowness, and I might say truth in its majesty and in its absolute complete power, is living through that human being. This is what it means. What few humans attain, but I want you to attain it. This is what it means to give only the glory to God. Let's start with a helpful exercise which will enable you to do more with what you hear and read in the spiritual world. This exercise can be carried on almost any time, wherever you are, and it can also be going on just in your mind as you're going somewhere, or you can write it down. Do it both ways. It'll be very instructive to you. And you will definitely see results because you'll learn how to use all your natural human powers better, thinking and all the departments of thinking, reacting, and memory. You will do more with yourself for yourself. The lesson and the exercise is this. Take any simple short fact, truth, that you like in particular. You do have some that hit you with right feeling, don't you? More than another one would do. One that you like, you just, oh, you're so glad you met that idea because it has answered some of your questions of how you should behave in this forthcoming meeting you're having with other people. You will take this single short idea and think about it wherever you're going and get the main thought first and then expand on it. In other words, explain the selected thought to yourself. And with delight and increasing efficiency, you will find that you'll be able to say more about that selected thought than you ever were before. Not only say more, but say more profound things and far more right associated with thoughts than you thought possible. You're starting off in the right direction by doing that. Now, don't determine what the direction will be, whether you turn left or right. Let that come to you. You've started off with the right fundamental fact. Now you're going to take a piece of paper and write down any thoughts that occur to you that relate to your original idea. For example, you can say to yourself, I need not create my own world. Now, isn't that a good, exciting thought already? I need not create my own world, because then the idea, the contrary idea, will come to you that you have been indeed trying to create your own world. Your own world of inner comfort, of power, of getting along in some way. And you've schemed and planned to create your own world so that it'll be comfortable. No more. You need not and you must not create your own psychological spiritual world. And now you see, now you've added the following thought to that. I need not create my own world, I need only enter it. Oh, that's different. Instead of getting up in the morning and thinking that you have to create the sun and the earth and the sea, instead of getting up to create them, you just enter them, don't you? You enter what has already been supplied to you, and there it is. The physical body enters into a right relationship with the physical sun, earth, and so on. Now when you have done this lesson thoroughly, and you just do it endlessly and all the time in spare minutes, wherever you may be, you will discover that more and more you will understand what it means that you don't have to create your own world, because you're not doing it anymore. You know what it means to depart. You can depart any time you want from the stress and the strain and the vanity of thinking that you have to create your own life. I made a little switch in words there that might make it more clear to you. I don't have to create my own world. I don't have to create my own life, which is what you will admit that you have been doing, and look at the results of your effort to do that. Chaos, ruins, and an awful lot of recurring anxiety. Just as I get up in the morning and go out of the house, and the pure air is there, and the sun's coming down, and there's a nice gentle breeze, and the world is there to walk on. Your spiritual nature is all self-contained. Your spiritual nature has everything, therefore there's nothing to create. The real world, the pure world, has always existed, always will exist, no time involved in it at all, which is another thought. See, I'm explaining to you how you can proceed by taking this one thought. Therefore, if the real world, the spiritual world, is timeless, if I can understand to a greater extent what it means to live in the timeless world, then I will enter it, and my time thoughts and my time naggings and my memories which reside in time will no longer be able to enter my timeless world, and I'll be a free and happy human being. Take the exercise, do it over and over, and you will guarantee you this. The more you do it, the more interested you will be in doing it, because you are getting the gold from it. You'll get excited over doing the right thing with yourself. And when you write down any single thought, this is a summary of it, write down any single thought that appeals to you, then write down paragraph, 2 paragraphs, go as long as you want. And then the secondary waves of enlightenment will come to you, besides the first one that you started with when you first ran across that thought. And you'll look over your notes, and you'll see one that you'll want to underline. Maybe 10 lines later, you'll see another one you'll want to underline. So, relax and proceed with the rest of the talk along with me. And if a special thought comes to you, you might want to take that one down. And then when you go out of here for the rest of the week or the month or 10 months, you will persistently practice this exercise of taking a single excellent, you even call it exciting, because it's exciting to your real nature, exciting thought, and give yourself a commentary on it. Explain it to you both mentally and writing down. What prevents this? What is the foe that wants to keep itself in place instead of this newness that could save you? Story time and illustration of that point. Here's a man who lives on one side of a river, and he works over there all day long, but in the afternoon he has to row across the river to get to his home on the other side. So one day he gets in the boat, starts to cross over. And when he gets just a little bit out, instead of paying attention to his objective and aim to row straight to the other side, he's distracted by 1,000 different sights. And you have these, don't you? You're trying to do something. You're trying to understand what's going on here, what's going on inside of yourself, and the distractions come along. He's out a little bit away from the shore that he started from, and an empty canoe comes down. That's something to think about. What a mystery. An empty canoe has come. Did people fall out of it? Did it get loose from its moorings upstream away? Why is there an empty canoe coming down and going down past me? And he thinks about that for a little bit. And then a little bit later, just a few minutes later, he suddenly remembers he has a cheese sandwich in his lunch that he left over from lunch. He couldn't eat all 7 of them. So he thinks about whether he should have the cheese sandwich or not. And guess what's happening to him all the time that he's paying attention to all these distractions? Many more than the 2 I illustrated. You know what's happening? He's not paying attention to his rowing. And 15 minutes after he sets out from the shore to get to the other side so he can get back home, 15 minutes later, he suddenly comes to himself, and he looks up and around, and he knows that he's drifted downstream for several miles. He's shocked. Now, put yourself in that position. We'll pause in the story to discuss this good point. What happened to my original aim to live a happy life? His aim was to get to the other side, get back home, and he didn't make it. Whatever happened to my plan to feel more secure through acquisition or through exciting activities? Whatever happened to my plans to simply get my own way more? Because I've got to get my own way because I'm intelligent and I know what I'm doing. And other unintelligent people won't let me have my own way. What happened as I tried to get across the river? What happened is that you fell asleep, for one thing, and the second thing is you had a wrong aim in the first place. Being downstream and getting up and looking around and knowing that you're several miles beyond the point where you should have got off to get to your home. Being downstream means that you have had a jolt from reality that is trying to tell you that something is wrong with you while trying to cross the river. You said, I want to cross the river, but you didn't mean it. What you wanted to do was entertain yourself with the empty canoe and the cheese sandwich. What you wanted to do was live your own way. You wanted your own way, you've got it. Suddenly finding yourself away from where you should be is both the shock and the opportunity, if you can be honest about it. Have you ever done this, by the way? You're downstream, have no business being there, and you think logically. You think with reason. And you explain to yourself why you're down there instead of up there. Yes, I did get real excited over that drifting canoe, and I even thought that maybe if I could tow it in and get it to shore, someone might give me a $20 reward for bringing it back. It's a very expensive canoe, but it slipped past me and I wasn't able to do that. That's the reason I forgot to row when I should have been rowing, and I put the oars down for a minute in order to gratify the impulse of the moment to wonder and to hope that I could get a reward of some. That's why I find myself in the wrong. That's why I find myself in the wrong place. Oh, so many people, including my own parents, told me that I'm responsible for my own difficulties. I got myself into the jam that I find myself in. Well, what do you know? They were right after all. And here I am, older man now, and I finally see the truth that I could have learned a long time ago. Yeah. Oh, and then about the cheese sandwich. Oh, the demands of the physical self. Look at the demands of your physical body. You want to be nice looking, and you feel that's hopeless. Give it up. And if you don't feel that you're the most dazzlingly attractive person on earth, then instead of saying I'm good looking, which you can't believe, then you substitute another word that isn't quite so hard to swallow, like I may not be great looking, I may not be handsome, but I am charming. He's got the good looks, but I've got the great social graciousness, which attracts far more people to me than that good-looking man over there. Try to make yourself believe it. There is a whole world of exploration, incidentally, that you're afraid to enter concerning your physical appearance. It's a very touchy area, isn't it? And always going by comparison. Now, I'm going to set you all free. Forget it. 1 million compliments a day would not free you. It's only covering it up for that very brief split second, right? Oh, that man has gone out into the Atlantic Ocean by this time. Adrift at sea, because he didn't pay attention to what he was doing. The point, recognize when you fell asleep, with whatever you do to fall asleep with, hopefully something higher or different than a cheese sandwich. And notice where you are drifting and dreaming. If you don't know that, if you won't be honest enough to know where you've drifted to, you can't change it. Ah, the agony of being so far from home will be and can be changed into a resolution to not fall asleep the next time you have to cross the river. It's the story of your life, isn't it? Rowing across, getting excited over something, or even depressed over something, forgetting to row. When you stop rowing, then the current of ordinary life takes you over and takes you downstream. You can definitely arrive at the point, and you must, where when you're rowing to get to your spiritual home, when you're rowing and the distraction comes along, the empty canoe, the attraction comes along, where your new and evolving nature is stronger than the canoe or the cheese sandwich. You will know it. See, temptation is the approach. The temptation of thinking about the canoe, thinking about the reward you might get for returning it. The temptation is not the fall. I tell you, the adversary is always sending temptations toward you to put down your rows and look over at that or look at that and go to sleep so he can take the current of his low-level life and bring you downstream. I've told you that you can change it if your values change. And your values change by you not wanting to be so far away from home anymore. And you know you are. Give you a great thought. You might want to write this one down. There is no fright in the light. There's no fright in the light. If you were in the heaven's light, there'd be no fear at all. Only fear in darkness, right? Isn't fear darkness itself? Here's an interesting comment on that. Have you ever noticed that a ghost, which represents problems and false thinking, have you ever noticed that a ghost can only be in the dark? If you turn on the light, the ghost disappears, doesn't it? You enter that haunted house and it's dark and gloomy. Oh, there's always weird organ music coming from somewhere. And there's always, if it's a good story, a caped figure leaning over the keyboard. And of course, as the girl approaches him, he turns around and she screams. Well, we got the script out of the way. You go into the dark room of the haunted house and the ghosts are there. Open the curtains. Let all the sunshine in. Where's the ghost? You can't see him anymore. Nice little illustration for you to think about. How many of you were haunted ghosts, goblins, weirdos of various descriptions. How many of you can't believe the uninvited guests that come into your house? How many of you are glad that no one else knows about them? Turn out the light, turn on the light, and they're gone. You have to be willing to learn. Don't undervalue, especially right here in this room, don't undervalue the power of learning something new. And that something new, as far as spirituality is concerned, is something that you didn't get from your collection of memories. How can it be new if it comes from memory? It's old, isn't it? It's something that's revealed to you. Remember the girlfriend said to her boyfriend, "I can't learn to love you." The boyfriend said, "I have $1 million. She said, "Give me another lesson." Now, we're not after such motivation as that. On the other hand, how many of you would like $1 million? How many of you ladies would like to meet a millionaire? Don't look around at New Life. Oh. All right. You're battered around by the storms at sea. You went out into your little tiny, oh, that was your canoe, by the way. You fell out of it. You're out in the ocean now in your canoe, and after gulping, coming up for air, you finally get back in the canoe, and the waves come up and batter you on the shore, but you go out again, get battered around again, and finally you're tired of gulping seawater and struggling around in the stormy sea. So you change your direction and you look along the shore there and you see a little cottage, an illustrative point. This is a powerful spiritual anecdote. So weary and wet. How many of you were all wet? Okay. And you see the little cottage there, and you go over and you knock on the door. Wondered whether you're going to bother someone there or not, but to your delight, a old sea captain comes to the door. They're usually a grizzled sea captain, aren't they? Grizzled sea captain. He has a cap on. And he says, "Now, come in. I've been waiting for you. I've been here for years. I'm an old sea captain. I know all about storms at sea, about squalls and typhoons and tycoons." And you go in and you're so glad. Oh, have you ever had someone else understand you, really understand you? No? Well, you didn't really expect it, did you? Not able to understand yourself. What I'm saying is, see, truth makes it, the captain represents the truth. He welcomes you in, and here you are spilling seawater all over his carpet, and he doesn't mind that. He doesn't mind. He knows the only thing you can do, the way you are. Truth knows that all you can do is get salt water all over your own life and everybody else's life too, because you can't do anything but that. Now don't fight that fact. If you're a mess, simply admit you're a mess, and that settles it, right? It does. You say I better stay outside until I'm better and dry. Don't do that. You know the phrase, you have to come as you are. That's true. It's a fact, just exactly as you are. You go inside and the sea captain says, "Well, let's see, you're the fifth one today, and already you're disappointed. You want to be the only person needing rescue in the world." That's right. There's your vanity again. I wanted to be the sole attention of your care, sir. You don't say that. You think that. Don't be a victim anymore. Don't be a martyr anymore. Oh, the damage that is done in that name by people who want to see themselves as victims. Sea captain says, I've been here for a long, long time. I understand you perfectly. I understand what has happened to you. And I'm very glad for you that you finally turned around and came up to the cabin. Because I can give you help. Because right in back of the cabin here is a rescue building that I had built for people just like you. So you go over there and they take care of the real experts take care of it, and then you give you new clothes and take care of your problems that you have by swallowing too much seawater. And you go on your way. Do it now. Now here's what I'm talking about. You're so in love with battling the sea and getting soaked by it that it is incredibly difficult to tell any man or woman that he doesn't have to do that. And I suggested it to you when I told you you don't have to build your own world, your own life. You are not only building it, but you're rebuilding it. Every time you try to make that canoe go out and find something, you walk away from yourself. When you walk away from yourself, you walk away from all the horrors of the ocean. If you still are struggling in the sea, that means you haven't walked away yet. That means you will not give up your lower life in favor of a higher life. All the things we're talking about is to give you encouragement and instruction, education, new ways of thinking. Your old ways haven't served you. Give up your old ways. That's a part of the terror on the beach. Turn around and start walking.